Hi, in this video I'm going to go through question 1 part I on Math 2009. So for this question, we want to know for what values of n does this polynomial have x squared minus 1 as a factor. Well, if we look at the solutions that they give us, then we only need to consider when n is 10 or 15. So if I call this expression star, then if we substituted n is 10 and n is 15 into star, then we're going to get these polynomials. So if I call these 1 and 2, so we can refer back to them later. So it's going to be very difficult to try and actually factorize these polynomials. So we'll have to look for its factors in a different way. And well, we know we can factorize this because it's a difference of two squares. So we know that x squared minus 1 is equal to x minus 1 times x plus 1. And so what does this tell us about what it means to have x squared minus 1 as a factor? Well, knowing that x minus 1 and x plus 1 are both factors also tells us about the roots. So if we have this as a factor, then we must have 1 and minus 1 both being roots. So let's substitute 1 and minus 1 into these equations 1 and 2 and see if we get 0. And if we get 0 for both 1 and minus 1, then we know that 1 and minus 1 are both roots, and hence x squared minus 1 must be a factor. So if we substitute 1 and minus 1 into equation 1, then we see that indeed for both 1 and minus 1 we get 0, and hence x squared minus 1 must be a factor of 1. And now if we try putting 1 and minus 1 into 2, then if we put 1 in, we have this, and I factorized the 15 out rather than trying to work out 25 times 15. And we see that what's inside this bracket is indeed equal to 0. And so we have that 1 is a root of 2. But if we look at minus 1, then when we substitute it into 2, we have all of these terms being negative. And so we don't even need to work out the sum. We know that when we add them together, it's going to be negative and not equal to 0. And so we have that x minus 1 isn't a root. And so that means because 1 and minus 1 aren't both roots, then x squared minus 1 is not a factor of 2. And so we get that x squared minus 1 is a factor only when n is equal to 10. And so our answer is B.